You know, sometimes the most incredible stories are hiding in plain sight, tucked away in just a single sentence. Today, we're going to unpack one of those from the book of Revelation, a verse that literally captures the sound of the entire global economy collapsing in a single hour. It's an amazing story of wealth, grief, and a really spectacular counterfeit.
So, here it is, Revelation chapter 18. This is the sound of global trade just grinding to a complete halt. I want you to picture this. Merchants, ship captains, all watching from a safe distance as this glittering, massive city that made them all rich just goes up in smoke. You can almost feel the anguish in their cry, "Alas, alas." They're watching something magnificent, the very heart of their commerce, get wiped out in just 1 hour.
And that right there brings us to the central question we're tackling today. The city is gone, yes, but what's the real reason for this intense, profound grief? Is it for the people, the culture, or is there something else going on here? To figure that out, we've got to look a little closer at who is doing the weeping and why.
So, our first real clue is in who's actually mourning. The text is super specific about this. These are the merchants of the earth, the ones who got seriously rich from all the city's trade. This isn't the cry of your average citizen. Nope. This is the lament of the global elite. And that one detail? It tells us so much about what they've really lost.
And here's the absolute key. Their cry of alas, alas is not them repenting. They're not mourning the city's sinfulness or its wickedness, not at all. They are mourning the loss of their market. This is the raw grief of a CEO watching their company stock flatline to zero. It is a purely economic cry for a system that made them incredibly, fantastically wealthy.
Okay, so if their grief is all about economics, what exactly did they lose? I mean, to really get the scale of this loss, we have to look at the city's inventory of splendor. The verse gives us a very specific list, almost like a shipping manifest, of what made this city the center of their entire world. Now, this is not just a random list of expensive stuff. This is an inventory of pure power and status. We are talking about fine linen, which was like the ancient world's version of haute couture. We're talking purple and scarlet, dyes so expensive they were literally worth their weight in gold, stuff reserved for emperors and the highest religious elites. This city wasn't just rich, it was the engine of global luxury.
The verse says the city was clothed in all this finery. And the original Greek here is just so incredibly precise. The word is peribolimene. Now that doesn't just mean clothed. It's describing a state of being that is now permanently, irreversibly in the past. It's like saying it had been clothed. The grammar itself just slams the door shut. That splendor isn't just gone. The very possibility of it ever coming back has been totally extinguished.
But here is where the story pivots from a tale of economic collapse to something way, way deeper. Because those items on the list, they are not random luxury goods. For anyone reading this back then, every single one of them would have carried this heavy, sacred, symbolic weight.
And this leads us to the pivotal question. What if this inventory of wealth wasn't just a list of commodities? What if every single item on it was a deliberate, twisted echo of something that was supposed to be holy?
And here it is. This is the heart of it all. Every single luxury item on that list, the linen, the purple, the scarlet, the gold, was originally specified way back in the Old Testament for the holiest purposes imaginable, for the sacred garments of the high priest and for building the temple itself. These things were symbols of divine glory. But in this city, they'd been stripped of all their meaning and just turned into merchandise. Holiness itself had become a commodity.
So what does that mean? It means the merchants were mourning the destruction of a fake. They were weeping over the collapse of an entire religious economy that had all the right-looking symbols of holiness but was completely hollowed out on the inside, all for the sake of profit. They missed the system, sure, but they had lost the substance a long, long time ago.
The verse keeps emphasizing that all this wealth, all this glory, was destroyed in 1 hour. Now that specific time frame is not just a random detail for dramatic effect. It's a massive signpost, and it's meant to point our minds to another, even more important 1 hour that really did change everything.
1 hour. For the merchants, it was an hour of total, catastrophic financial ruin. But symbolically, it's pointing to another hour in history, an hour that made their entire counterfeit system absolutely powerless.
And that true 1 hour was the crucifixion. In that hour, the veil in the temple was torn from top to bottom, signaling the end of that whole symbolic system. The true high priest offered the final sacrifice, and that made all those ornate priestly garments, the fine linen, the purple, the scarlet, spiritually obsolete. The whole system of outward religious splendor this city was profiting from was exposed as a worthless counterfeit the moment the true lamb was slain.
And this is the ultimate tragedy of the story. The merchants, they stand at a distance, just watching their world burn. They see the end of their profitable system, but they completely miss the real story. They're mourning their counterfeit clothes, but they failed to turn to the one who was clothed in mockery and shame, so that we could be clothed in true righteousness.
And that leaves us with a question that really echoes down to our own lives today. When the systems that we trust and that we value start to crumble, what do we truly mourn? Are we grieving the loss of truth? Or are we, just like the merchants of old, really just grieving the loss of our own comfort? It's a big question, and it's one worth thinking about.